the back to sit down.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you can please take your seats. If you're standing in the back, please take your seats. Yep, that's you. Thank you.
Hey, Uncle Audrey. Can you sit down? Devin Brandolin.
Damas y caballeros, por favor.
I know everyone here. Fantastic. Good evening. Well, I'm going to first start off with some nicknames. Now, Mr. Follis calls Jeremiah J, and I thought, you know what, I should give Jeremiah a nickname. So it's now JJ. Why? I'm going to be 55 in July, and I'm trying to simplify my life, so JJ. Now, Melanie has two nicknames. The first name is Annie, and when Maggie, her sister, was an infant, she couldn't say Melanie, so she would say Annie. So I decided to call her Annie many years ago. And there's pictures at each table. I would be so grateful if you could pass the pictures around because it will give you some context about some of the people I'm going to be talking about this evening. But Maggie's favorite person is Curious George, and Maggie, Melanie, and myself, we call each other Georgie. So if I call her Annie or Georgie, it's not because I just had 2 shots. And oh, by the way, who knows the name of the woman in this picture? She's in the middle. I know, you're my guest, so you know. Who knows? Who? Dolores Huerta, that is exactly right. She was 84 years old when this picture was taken with Melanie and Maggie. Last month, she just celebrated her 94th birthday. Now, does Melanie look amazing or what, huh? Now she's ready for those Seattle wifey vibe shirts, right? Complete. In fact, I was thinking about, you should start an Instagram page called Seattle Wifey from Texas. You know? Exactly. She should. So I have a bunch of questions for Melanie, that's why she's standing up. And Melanie, one of the first questions I have for you is, do you believe it is possible for someone in 2024 to show proof that God made their dream come true? Yes, okay, well let me tell you a great story. No offense to the guys in the room, but 24 years ago I prayed to God, I said, please God, don't send me 2 sons, don't send me 2 daughters. I really, really want 2 daughters. I want 2 daughters who are intelligent, smart, good-hearted, and I hope I'm not asking for a lot, I'm going to take them to heavy metal concerts like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. And exactly, we have our metal people in here, absolutely, children of the 80s. And also, it's possible, it would be great if they loved to thrift and go to vintage places and museums. And God said, bro, really? So in 2024, Annie, you're gonna love this, because it involves Jeremiah, it's cool. When I take 2 pictures out, and I show people and I say, you know what? God does make dreams come true. And not only that, 24 years later, he sent me a son-in-law who adores you. So I eventually got the son. And I didn't have to pay for his upbringing, which is really the best part, okay? So now let me recognize Mr. and Mr. Follis for raising such an amazing individual. Please stand. Now, Melanie and Jeremiah, we're going to start by thanking the people that made your dream, this wedding, come true. So let me first thank all of you for being here. Give yourself a round of applause, please. Now, I was told that all of the people serving us were paid to be here. But, in my opinion, all of them deserve a round of applause. Please thank Brandon, the DJ, Gavino, with the McNay, and of course Melissa, the wedding planner. Now, I'm also going to recognize a couple of people, and who am I going to recognize? I'm gonna recognize a couple people. They're probably thinking, oh my God, is it gonna be me? But the first person is gonna be Terry Solis. Please stand. Terry was unbelievably helpful, spent hours helping my mother and Melanie plan this wedding. And let me tell you something privately, Melanie. Over the years at their parties, and they're amazing Easter parties, right? I have always wanted to tell Terry the following, that I respect her, admire her, and love her. But if I said that at a party, she would probably say, Joey, that's very nice of you, but I think we're gonna turn off the margarita machine right now. Thank you so much. Now the other person I'm going to recognize is my uncle, Dr. Abelardo Villarreal. Please stand. Now, a picture of my grandparents is at every single table, and we are so blessed because Melanie, you can hold up your 2 wedding rings. She is wearing the wedding rings that belong to my uncle's mother, my grandmother, Mrs. Andrea Villarreal, and my grandfather, Fidel Villarreal, who are joining us from above. Now, Andy, I'm going to kind of take a little risk here, okay? This is a little risky. I'm going to try to contemplate what the Olado was thinking when he gave you those 2 rings, right? Yes, the diamonds are valuable, yes, the gold is valuable, but your grandmother over the past 20, 30 years has been sending your uncle updates about you every single week, right? This is her son, the Orlando. This is the scholarship Melanie got. Here's the new job she got. In fact, when Melanie has a good hair day, my uncle finds out about it, okay? So, I would like to think that he looked at your 23 years of life and said, you know, Melanie's public service was Tía Olga Nachi. Her entrepreneurship was her grandmother. Her persistence was Andrea. And I thought to myself, the reason these rings are so significant is because he saw you, and he thought she represents the future. And that, for us, is powerful. So, thanks again. Now, Melanie, I don't think you ever thought that, and by the way, I started growing up my beard a year ago, and I don't think you ever thought your father would end up looking like a rabbi, right? And I thought to myself, you know, if I had really practiced, I could probably start singing that song from Fiddler on the Roof, if I were a rich man. But I thought, no, I'm going to scare them away. But of course, we're equal opportunity people. We're an international group. And last week, I went to a Ramadan event, and the owner of Fusion Foods bought me an entire Islamic outfit. So I went to this Ramadan event, and you're not going to believe this, but people from northern Pakistan were saying to me, you're from northern Pakistan, right? You have very light skin. So we're like an international crowd. So talking about international crowds and people, let's introduce our international family members from Mexico. So at this table over here, we have the following individuals. I'm going to speak Spanish in a few moments, pero queremos agradecer a la familia Flores. So vamos a empezar con la señora Margarita Flores. She came in from Querétaro, Mexico, and her husband is joining us up in the sky. And we also have Melanie's godparents, Pepe and Adriana Flores. They are joining us. And Tío Alfredo and Male are also here. So thank you so much. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. And as all of you know, if Mexico is in the party, there's a party. Aquí estamos. Los mexicanos ya saben cómo hacerlo bien, ¿verdad? Now, I have a question for all of you. What did you think about the flower arrangements in the aisle? Huh? Were they beautiful? Okay, there's one person we need to thank, and it is Melanie's mother, Blanca. Please stand. Now, here's a little bit of trivia. Melanie and Maggie, in addition to being U.S. citizens, are citizens of Mexico. And I thought to myself, whenever I get to the point where I retire in Mexico, and if I don't want to be undocumented, maybe my daughter who loves me so much might buy me a house and get me papers in Mexico. She can sponsor me, isn't that great? I mean, that would be fantastic. So let's really talk about the people that genuinely made this entire dream possible for us. And it's my mother, my father, Joe and Laura Solis. Now, Melanie, I don't know if you know this, but here in San Antonio, well, of course you know this, but everyone in San Antonio loves to say, when I win the lottery, I'm going to buy this, or I'm going to quit my job. Did I ever tell you that I'm actually a lottery winner? No? Oh my God. So, the actual day I won the lottery is very foggy and blurry, so I can't really give you a lot of details, but on July 9th, 1969, the day I was born to these wonderful individuals, is when I won the lottery. Now, a few weeks ago, I think in December, you were wearing a fur coat, and I have to tell you the story about the fur coat, okay? I've had this story for 40 years in my head, and this is a story that shows why we are so blessed to have inherited such amazing entrepreneurial genes from our grandparents, our parents, and so forth. And this story took place at the Joski's department store. Now, they were having a fur sale. They brought in people from New York. My mother went with us, and we went. And now, my mother, let me point this out. I've never really talked about this, but she has a genetic issue where she can't pay retail. It has to be deeply discounted, but she does not pay retail. So she goes to the fur dealer and she tells him, Mr. Horowitz, I love this jacket, it's $3,500, but I'm a school teacher and I really can't afford it, but I know you're returning to New York Monday and I would love to buy the jacket from you. And the man, Mr. Horowitz, said, ma'am, I am a reputable fur dealer and I have a great relationship with Joski's. And then my mother said that magic word, cash. So 24 hours later, we're at La Mansion Hotel, walking out with a fur coat after dropping off a stack of cash. Genius, huh? Genius. In fact, there's one more, and I know I'm on the clock right now, but we were going to New York, right? And she's still in the jewelry business. My mom actually figured out the pricing model for the wholesalers. So she knew what their wholesale cost was, and she was negotiating with them. In fact, she was so good at negotiating with them, like, there'd be times I would feel bad for the seller. I'm like, man, she really beat them up. How did she get such a low price? But these are the lessons we grew up with, right? Studying Andrea Villarreal, and I remember being in her living room, and she was talking to a tenant, and she listened to the tenant the tenant that has money to pay rent. But this is how I learned business. And she listened to the story, and she said, if you don't have all $500 right now, get at least $150. And she got the $150. But she was listening to them and learning. So our education was not at UTSA at the College of Business. It was the Villarreal School of Business. So let me conclude by saying I'm so thrilled. This is at the McNay Museum. Melanie said a few months ago, she says, oh my God, I grew up at the McNay Museum. And it's true. We started coming here when you were about 2 to 3 years old. And in middle school and high school, they had a lecture series. And this is like, we're really nerds, okay? So we would come to the lecture series, and I would ask myself, what would really motivate them? And then I found out there's a Cane's Chicken on the outskirts of Alamo Heights. Oh, I'm telling you, they love Cane's Chicken. So, JJ, there you go. and we would come out here. So this evening, Melanie and Jeremiah, I'm going to do the right thing. I'm not going to give you marital advice because I'll probably get hit with a class action lawsuit. Yes, Your Honor, I did give marital advice, but I got it on AI, and I thought I was going to do the right thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a story with you from one of the greatest women in our world, and that is Gloria Solis, who is up in heaven right now, and my primos are here to join us. And after I read this to you, and this is my hope for you, right? This is my blessing for you. I'm going to have one question for you, okay? So here it goes. And these words are really my gift. And oh, by the way, if you look around at these pictures, this is how adventurous these young ladies are. And I tell you, I think Jeremiah probably decided this is the girl for him because several months ago, they went to a MMA boxing fighting match, and she was actually posting it on Instagram. And I thought, hey bro, you have somebody who's gonna go to an MMA fight and promote it and tell the world how great it was? I said, you better keep her, bro. So, and some of the pictures here are from visits to the McNay Museum. And there's one picture here when we went to New Mexico, and that's Maggie on top supervising her sister climbing down a 2-story pueblo in New Mexico. So, Jeremiah, they're fearless, so you have fun, okay? So, these are my closing words, and once again, thank you so much for being here. Now, this took place on February the 7th, 2016 at one of the Super Bowl parties at my Uncle Raul's house. And pictures of my Tia Gloria are at every table, and also there's a picture of their hands, my Tio's hands and my Tia Gloria's hands. So I'm going to read this to you, and this again is what I wish for you. On February the 7th, 2016, Tia Gloria Solis taught me a magical lesson about the meaning of love. It was the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl 50, and I asked her how her dialysis treatments were coming along. And she turned my way and explained the terrible pain she was now enduring every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. She pulled her sweater down and she showed me that her arm was swollen and bruised and purplish red in color. The pain of the treatments and not being able to move for upwards of 4 hours was too much to take. Gloria told me that a few ladies at the clinic had endured upwards of 10 to 15 years of treatments. She also mentioned she had known 2 people who had simply declined dialysis and asked to spend their final days in hospice. In the past few months, she asked her 2 treatments to be stopped halfway due to a serious bathroom necessity. She looked at me and she said, quote, "You know, I have to be here for Raul. He needs me. That is why I have to do this." End of quote. She explained how every week was devoted to the painful treatments and the endless medical visits. In one short conversation, Tia Gloria taught me an important lesson in love. You endure physical pain, hardship, and suffering by being there for those you love. Melanie and JJ, may you have this kind of love for the rest of your lives. Now, as I mentioned, I have one final question for Melanie. I bet you didn't create all these questions, right? One more question. What could the question be? Annie, may I have the last dance with you?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'll be doing our father-daughter dance, and it's actually a special song being sung by Mr. Matthew.
Red roses too.
put your hands together for our bride and father of the bride, with our father-daughter dance. All right, great job. Also, big round of applause for Matthew. Matthew did a great job singing.
One more question for all of you. These little postcards, I printed out a whole bunch of them and I distributed some pens. So if you'd like to write a note to Melanie and Jeremiah, this would be a great thing to write on and give it to them as a memory. And if you're looking for a pen pal in Seattle, leave your address because they love getting mail. Thank you.
All right, great job. Next up, we're going to have